Hey guys, it's Smurfs. Welcome back to Harpies in the Trees, where I review horror books with a supernatural focus. So today's video is going to be my most anticipated releases for July and August. It was a really interesting couple of months to look through because one thing I noticed for these months for this year, really heavily oversaturated gothic paranormal, gothic romance type stuff. A lot of descriptions of comparing these books to The Haunting of Hill House. So there's a lot of books like that that all sort of had the same vibe or a similar story, which I don't think is a surprise because I think gothic has really gotten a lot of new fans recently. But besides that, I did find a handful of stuff that's really cool. So if you haven't heard the news, from my community tab posts or from Instagram, I had interviewed for a job and they offered me the position. So it is very exciting. It is a part-time job, but has potential to become full-time. But what's more important is that I get to work in a position that really plays to all of my strengths. So I'm really excited. It's a game development company. I will be doing digital design and maybe some other things. So very excited. And as promised, I went onto worldofbooks.com and I put together a really nice book haul. This is the most books that I've ever bought in my life in one sitting. It was very exciting. So 14 books all together. I did find some cool stuff. Yeah, so I'm very excited. I can't wait to share that with you guys. So thank you also too for, supporting me and rooting me on. It was grim. It was very grim. So it feels good. Feels good. The Pain Eater. The Pain Eater by Kyle Moons that comes out on July 5th. This is a really interesting one. I don't know if this is specifically supernatural, but it's definitely horror. And the story starts off with two brothers. This takes place in Michigan. But these two brothers are estranged and they decide to come together to reunite because their father has passed away. For some reason, they decide that they're going to live together, help each other through the grief or just make things easier on their bank accounts. Who knows what the reason is, but they decide to cohabitate. And it's while they are there together that one of the brothers discovers this cat who seems to be sick and it's vomiting and it ends up regurgitating this weird creature. And this creature has a very special kind of appetite. It likes to eat pain. And one of the brothers becomes very addicted to how it feels when this creature eats his pain. It sounds super creepy, super weird. It does sound like, it's playing off, how there are times when people have a family member who dies and it is so awful for them. The grief is just unbearable that sometimes they will, go to drugs or alcohol to numb the pain. But it's reimagined here in a really interesting way, especially the cat. The cat is a symbol for the underworld, also bad luck, a lot of different things. I wonder if they're, tied in together like that. So it sounds like it'll be a very, maybe depressing and unsettling read, but it sounds pretty good. The Ghost That Ate Us, the tragic true story of the Burger City Poltergeist by Daniel Cross. This comes out on July 12th. This is a weird book. This is a fictionalized true crime novel. It's definitely presenting itself though as like all of these events are true, and it's giving a lot of evidence and facts and all this kind of stuff. And I'm really going and delving deep into the details. So it sounds like it could be interesting. The location for the true crimes happens at a place called Burger City in Iowa. And besides there being these weird hauntings at this establishment, there's also these heinous murders that take place. Like 7 people die. And so the author then shares with you footnotes and news quotes, crime scene photos and survivor interviews, stuff like that. So it feels like it's gonna be like one of those very immersive reads and, you know, sort of maybe have a little bit of that maybe no sleep vibe where it feels like it could be real. So I don't really know if this calls my name, but I think it's a really interesting premise. The next book is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which comes out on July 12th. This is a body horror, gothic haunted house story. If you remember, Kingfisher wrote The Twisted Ones. This is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's classic The Fall of the House of Usher. This story is about Alex Easton. He's a retired soldier, and he just found out that his childhood friend, Madeline Usher, is dying. He decides that he wants to be by her side during this time, so he returns to his place where he grew up and to her ancestral home. But on his journey back, he's noticing that there's some weird anomalies in the landscape. Like there's these very horrifying fungal growths, and the wildlife seems possessed somehow. And there's also this pulsing lake. Not really the picturesque place that he remembered as a kid. Once he's finally in Madeline's house and he's taking care of her, he begins to witness her doing things like sleepwalking and talking in a weird voice to people who aren't there, or maybe just not seen. And her brother Roderick does not seem to be well. He seems to be extremely nervous and anxious. Alex is able to bring in a British mycologist who can decipher like what kind of fungus growth this is in the forest and what does it mean, and also an American doctor. But will it be too late? Will Alex make it? Will he be able to save them all before everything is consumed? This sounds like a very moody and atmospheric story that could be potentially pretty creepy and maybe unnerving, especially with the possessed wildlife and the fungus growths in the forest and all kind of stuff, which even when you're just walking through a regular forest and you see some weird mushroom, it's like, ugh. But I really like this combination between nature and, I assume, the Usher family. Maybe there's some connection, maybe there's, maybe the wildlife suffers if the Usher family suffers, something like that. Who knows? Could be fun though. Black Mouth by Ronald Malfi comes out on July 19th. This is a paranormal horror supernatural story. I read that it was perfect for fans of Stephen King's It because it's about a group of friends who have to come back to their hometown and confront this nightmare or something that they've all been hiding from. So these friends get together just kind of like by chance. It's one of those things where they just stumble upon each other back in the hometown or whatever, and they feel like this is fate, there's a reason for this. And they all start thinking and contemplating about that summer so many years ago where this stranger taught them this kind of magic. And whatever this magic was, or whatever it did to these kids, it had a really strong effect into their adulthood. So this is something they've been dealing with for a really long time. So now that they're back in town, they can confront this man. So it does really sound very, very similar to It. So if you just like that trope, like kids growing up and then coming back to their hometown, facing their fears, their nightmares, their sins, whatever they are, this could be a good one. Old Country by Matt Query and Harrison Query. This comes out on July 26th. So this is an interesting one. This is a story that came from Reddit, probably, I'm gonna assume maybe a creepypasta, but I'm not sure. But if you're like me, I definitely love some of the stories that come out of Reddit. I just feel like, I don't know, sometimes they just have this really special quality and it's just so good. A former Marine and his wife decide that they want to leave city life and, spend some time in the country. So that's what they do. They go, they get a house, and they are really, really happy with their decision, even if nobody else really gets it. That is until their neighbors come bringing gifts. Housewarming gifts, and also the gifts of some information that is pretty weird and disturbing. The neighbors tell this couple that there is this malevolent spirit on the land, and that every season, the spirit will come to haunt them in different ways. The new house owners don't really take this too seriously until they have to, until they start seeing manifestations of this possibly being true. So will they be able to manage this as the seasons go by? Will they be able to understand why this is happening and what they have to do? It's a really interesting premise. It seems like whatever the spirit wants to do, it's gonna do it. Again, there's this like land connection, you know, to like a place, to like to a home or something. So it sounds cool. It sounds interesting. Hell Hath No Sorrow Like a Woman Haunted by R.J. Joseph, coming out on August 7th. This is a short story collection. This is a collection of tales exploring the varying experiences of Black women in horrific circumstances, sometimes the victim, sometimes the monster, and often a little of both. There's not a lot about this short story collection online, but it sounds really cool. And I like how at the end it's like, maybe it's both. You know, maybe they are also the victim and the monster. I like that duality. A Child Alone with Strangers by Philip Fracassi comes out on August 16th. This sounds really cool. Kind of goes with the creepy kid trope a little bit. So this story is about a little boy who is kidnapped and he's taken to this remote location, some farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, and that's where he's in prison. But this kid has these abilities. He can sense things. He can communicate with things. And he uses this connection or relationship with whatever it is that he is communicating with to help him get free and to deal with his kidnappers. But, there's always a but, this entity or whatever it is that this boy is communicating with has his own agenda. This sounds really exciting. I like the whole entire setup, like the remote farmhouse. I like this aspect of this boy getting kidnapped, but having something, you know, some ace up his sleeve. He has something that he can work with to help him. But in this desperation to help himself and get out, because of course, you know, that's all you are concerned about, reaches out to something might not be as controllable as he thinks it is. And that's really cool. That's fun. That's very interesting. I hope this is a good one when I do like the follow-up on these. I hope it's good. The last one is The Haunting History of Invisible Women, a collection of true ghost stories by Andrea Janes and Leanne Renee Heiber. This comes out on August 18th. These two have teamed together to write this short story collection of ghost stories, and they are focused on the history of women who were invisible to mainstream society. So, you know, widows, spinsters, servants, maids, you know, all that kind of stuff, cooks. And they found first-hand accounts of these women experiencing supernatural or paranormal things. So this is a collection of their stories. And it sounds so good. It sounds so good. Like I love this aspect of it because I just love hearing everyday people talk about their paranormal or supernatural experiences. I'm not there to tell them it's real or it's not. I'm just there to listen. And I just think that is really fascinating, you know, what information they gleaned from it or what they saw, and also like how similar is it to other people's experiences. It's just really cool. It's a very interesting phenomena, and so I definitely want to get this one. I just hope that, I mean, with these first-hand encounters, sometimes you don't always get a lot of detail and information. I'm assuming that these accounts are probably from 50 or 100 years ago. So I just hope that there's enough there to make, you know, an interesting story. Those were the 8 books for July and August. I hope that you found something here that sounds interesting for you. If you did, let me know in the comments which one sounds really good, or, you know, maybe which one didn't sound very good. If you liked this video, please like and comment down below. If you would like to receive more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. Other than that, please take care of yourselves, look out for each other, and I will talk to you next time.